Welcome to Hearts and Stripes, your one-stop shop for all things military marriage. I hope our discussions and interviews equip you with the tools to start or grow a beautiful marriage as we address the benefits and challenges of MILF marriage. I believe life's most precious moments are worth celebrating, so I'll help you design your marriage blueprint in alignment with your core values. Thank you for joining us, and remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Let's do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Heart to Heart right here at Hearts and Stripes. I have a very special guest for you today. She has so much wisdom to share. She's a creative military spouse, and I can't wait for you to dive in and listen in to hear some of the advice that she's going to share with us today. Christy, go ahead and say hello to everyone and introduce yourself.
Hello, friends. Bree, thanks so much for having me on. I'm so excited. I am Christy DeWitt, and I have been married to my husband for 26 and a half years, and 23 of those have been in the Marine Corps. And so we've done tons of PCSs and moved and deployments, and I feel like I've kind of done it all and been in it all, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel because mine's retiring in November of this year.
Oh, congratulations. Yay.
Thanks. We're excited and scared to death.
Oh, right, exactly.
So, yeah. So I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and you are one of our I don't want to say up and coming, but I feel like you've really hit a stride as a military spouse entrepreneur. Can you share a little bit about what you do and kind of the direction that your business is going? Because it's really exciting right now.
We're very excited. I am one of 4 owners of Nomadis, and we do sterling silver charms. We create them, design them, and sell them, and they are military themed. So you would think Pandora, that style of charm, but all of our charms are related to the military. So we have all the emblems, dog tags, we have the duty stations, all MOS charms. So if you've been in the military or served in the military, or if you've been a spouse or a daughter or a proud military mom, we have a charm that kind of tells your story and your unique journey kind of as a military or a military supporter. And so that's what we do. We're celebrating our 10th year this year.
Woo!
And so I adore my 3 business partners. 3 of us are military spouses, and one of us is a military sister-in-law. So we definitely military focused, and it's been really fun and really exciting and a lot of hard work. But I do I'm the director of business development and sales for the company. So that's what I do.
And I absolutely love that. Yes, I love that it's military focused. And if you guys didn't hear in there, she talked about how these charms can tell your story. If you go on the website, we're absolutely going to link it in the show notes. You'll see how these beautiful charms really can capture the different locations and stops that you make along the way. Every PCS, it can be an item that your spouse, hint, gifts to you to let you know that you're going to a new location. Like, there are a lot of fun ways that you can use these charms. And I think the dog tags are probably my favorite.
I know. I want to always say, people always ask me, what's your favorite charm? And I have to, it's really honestly a tie. My husband's Marine Corps. So the Eagle Globe and Anchor is just so iconic. And it is actually one of our prettiest charms that we have. But I am a native Texan. And if you've ever met us, you know that how obnoxious we are and how much we love our state.
I love Texas.
So we have a Texas charm that probably ties right up there with that Eagle Globe and Anchor. But we do have some of the cutest and most fun little charms around, and we've got all 5 service branches and their duty stations. And if we don't have one you're looking for, just hold on. We're going to complete the set.
That is awesome. So stay tuned. Absolutely more to come, and hold on tight until the end of this episode because we may have something special in store that Christy's going to offer us. So, Christy, let's dive right in. We're talking about military marriage. Kind of share your story as a military spouse, and we would love to just hear some insight from you, your experience as an entrepreneur going through this crazy thing called military life. What can you share with us?
So you stop me when you're tired of listening to me. So when I met my husband, I didn't grow up military. My dad was a minister, and so although we were patriotic, and both my grandfathers had served in World War II, and I had an uncle that had been in the army back during Vietnam, but I wasn't even born then. And so while we were very patriotic, and I was really a supporter of the military, I had no idea really kind of what that lifestyle was. That, my reference point was An Officer and a Gentleman, the movie from I think is in 82.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that was kind of, that was kind of my, you know, uh, little bit of information that I had about the military. And so we moved to Memphis, Tennessee, and I met a guy at my church, and he was in college and I was in college, and we started dating, and he started talking about how his dad was a Marine, and he was going to go in the Marine Corps. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds foreign, but okay. So
Right.
I didn't give it too much thought, and he kind of had a hard time. They were cutting back on people joining the military right about that time, and some
Mm-hmm.
stuff got caught up in his med board, and so we went all the way through college, and he kind of given up that dream a little bit. And so I was like, okay, well, I escaped that. And we got married, and we had been married about 3 years, 2.5 years, and we had a son. And he came in one day and told me that he was going to try to he was working for Federal Express and had a good job, and he told me he was going to try to get into OCS with the Marine Corps. And I was like, okay, but I don't think they take old guys. But he was
Right.
now thinking back how, he was 22 or 23. But I was like, okay. And he got right in, and it was a whirlwind just to pack, because a lot of guys go to OCS and TBS and boot camp single. Not a ton of them are married. And so he
Oh,
packed up
wow.
his
Yeah.
little family, and we went to Quantico, Virginia. And so that was my kind of introduction to it. But I want to just back up a little bit, and we can circle back around this too, because
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
it's one of my things that I always want to share with people. My mother-in-law, first of all, I adore her, but because she was military, she she kind of poured into me in that 12 weeks that he was gone. She would tell me things, and tell me tips. And even though my father-in-law had been a reservist for most of their career, she
Mm-hmm.
still helped me with lingo, and uh, what the commissary and exchanges roles are, and um, that we would have availability to chapels on base and base housing. And so she kind of like gave me a mini tutorial before I stepped foot on the Marine Corps base at Quantico. And so I feel like that has been something that I have looked for, and hopefully I have paid it forward. But
Yes.
just her
Yes.
pouring into me and helping me, it's so overwhelming when you first, either come in as just as a spouse or even a service member. It's so much to take in, and overwhelming. And so she was just a really big mentor to me, and I love that. I'm so glad to have it. And so I have looked for young spouses to kind of do that same thing for. My daughter-in-law is a young military spouse, and so,
Oh,
you know
yay. Okay.
yeah, so I told, and now they're reserve also, but still, going through boot camp, I was just, trying to kind of help her navigate what was going on and all of that stuff. So I will be forever grateful to my mother-in-law for just taking the time, and just she was just gracious when she did it. And so
Yeah.
it was really good. But we came in, we went to TBS, and we got orders to Camp Pendleton, and I I walked in to Camp Pendleton, and we had been in a hotel about 3 days, and I found out I was pregnant. And so, I had the whole thing about getting all of your stuff in medical and all of that is just kind of overwhelming.
Oh, yes.
Forget that. And I kind of settled into that military lifestyle. And people have feelings one way or another, whether they sometimes they don't like that people say, well, you signed up for this, you knew what you were getting into when you signed up for this. Some people really are opposed to that. And
Right.
then some people are like, well, I did know what I was kind of getting into. I had kind of researched it, and I was like, okay, he's going to deploy some, and we'll probably move around for 20 or so years, and then he'll get a regular job after that. And that's kind of what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a baby at Camp Pendleton. We had gotten orders to Okinawa, and we had been there about 2 months when 9/11 happened.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so what I had signed up for became something completely different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the little onesies and twosies 6-month deployments were a thing that was probably not going to be part of my current situation. And so
Mm-hmm.
there was kind of a coming to a reality about what it really might look like for the next, I thought at the time, 5 years. And now we're
Mm-hmm.
19 years into it. And so it really wasn't what I signed up for. I signed up for easy breezy 20.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and so, one thing that Kevin and we have kind of always, the Marine Corps only dictates to me where I live and where my husband goes at certain times.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't dictate to me how I raise my kids and what activities I'm involved in and what job I have and
That's good. Yeah. That's
what
good.
and anything really about my marriage. That is, there are things I have to adjust, but my relationship with him is not open and can't be dictated by the Marine Corps. That is mine to do, and that's Kevin's to do. And
Right.
so we kind of got married, and this is our choice. We kind of made a covenant that this wasn't something we'd try out for a little bit, and then when the going got tough, we had options. And so I was kind of in it for the long haul. He was kind of in it for the long haul, and our families were very supportive. So the Marine Corps, although it made it a little bit, there were times obviously where it was difficult. I mean, he's had a couple of year-long deployments and a
Yeah.
couple of 9-month and 6-month deployments. And
Wow.
so we've been through that, and the adjustment coming back, and the adjustment for the kids,
It's
and
a
our
lot. Yeah.
our roles, and that can strain a marriage. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that is certainly not something I would scoff at. I mean, there were tough times, and uh how's our marriage going to work when he's been gone for so long and I've been doing everything, and you're almost kind of a little bit resentful of it too. um
Mm-hmm.
and so, but we really kind of work as a team. And when one of us is struggling, the other kind of picks up the slack, whether it's me
Right.
or him. um and that's kind of, we just allow each other to to be and do kind of where we are at the time. And there are times when one of us, has to kind of pick up and help the other along, and during tough times. And so it works kind of, it's, I don't know, I just adore him, but he also gets on my nerves too.
Right. So let's
Mhm.
unpack a little bit of that because you
Okay.
had some amazing points in there, just in your story. So one, you had a mother-in-law who kind of could be your guide in that and kind of direct your path and kind of what to expect and just kind of get your feet wet before you jumped all the way in, and things really shifted and changed with 9/11. And I think too often spouses, and not just spouses but even other military members, sometimes we're afraid to ask that more senior person. I know it can be a little intimidating, but what value is that? That was huge to have someone who could kind of guide you and direct you even if it's just simply the lingo and what to expect with medical and just little things that you wouldn't think you need to know, but having that person there, it so makes the transition um, a lot easier. And then just hearing how in your marriage you kind of made up in your mind that you guys were going to be in it for the long haul, and that's really refreshing to hear. I think I'm a little old fashioned in that thought process as well, but I think there's an author who says everything is figure outable, and I absolutely believe that when it comes to your marriage. And there are some spouses and some military couples who deal with some very difficult things,
Absolutely.
PTSD and depression and that separation. And I think Legacy Magazine did a fantastic job. They did a spread about what is it, deployment is not a casual term. It's not something that we should just brush off, and like you said, you knew what you were signing up for. No, this affects lives. It impacts the marriage, and it's such a strain on the marriage. It impacts families. It changes a whole dynamic, and this is not normal, but this is our normal. And there's still such a heaviness and something that you should really acknowledge when it comes to these tough things. So I love the way you guys chose to walk through this, knowing that you're a team, and you're going to stick it out through those hard times. So that is so refreshing to hear.
Yeah, and I looked for, I guess because my mother-in-law had made such an impact on me when I got to my first duty station. And this can go across the board. You can be a brand new lance corporal with a wife, or you can be a boot lieutenant with a wife. It's the
Mhm.
same.
Mhm.
It's the same. You don't know
Mhm.
what you're doing. You're new. You're not sure if you're going to make friends, if you're going to have people that, your family's miles away. We were in California. All of our family was in Tennessee. And you find out you're pregnant and you have a little one, and
Yep.
it was a difficult pregnancy. So
Mm.
you're just like, am I going to have, and I met the most wonderful um neighbors. They were just the ladies that took me kind of under their wing in our neighborhood were amazing. And I actually had lunch with one of them yesterday because now we're stationed back together for the first time ever.
Oh, nice. Look at
Um,
that.
so it was awesome. And I I looked for people. I looked for or not older spouses, but a little bit senior to me. And if
Yes.
I saw something in them, or I saw something in their marriage, or the way they volunteered in the community, or what activities they were in, and I thought, and they seemed like they kind of had it together. I would
Mhm.
question them. I asked them, how do you do this? What about this? And I kind of scoured the neighborhood looking for people who could mentor me and pour into me, and they did. And I had the most I started, they encouraged me to find some kind of I was a stay-at-home mom, but they
Mhm. Mhm.
encouraged me to find some kind of volunteer program. There's a ton of stuff to do on bases.
Right.
But one of the things that we had was Navy Marine Corps relief. And I went in and I talked to somebody, and they said, yeah, we need counselors to kind of help us do grants and loans and scholarships and all of that kind of stuff. And you kind of do a little bit of budgeting with the people who come in. And we think that we could train you to do that. So I did that. I was so young and, you know, barely able to
That's
balance my own checkbook. But here I
yeah.
was pouring into like, just Marines who were in either had financial distress or maybe an emergency that they needed funds for to go home or something like that. And so it was really an eye opener to that kind of stuff. And very quickly, they moved me into the chairman of volunteers for Navy Marine Corps Relief for all of the ones on Camp Pendleton and at 29 Palms. So
Wow.
it was, I mean, I was just, and I kept thinking to myself, oh my goodness, they don't know what, they don't know what they've done. But I looked for that, and I had like women in that organization pouring into me and teaching me. And so I really was like, I wanted to learn as much as I could, and I wanted to be able to then give it back um, to someone else. And so,
Mhm.
throughout our career, I've looked for that, and whether it's been things in the community that I've done. I work at my church, and I do some stuff with youth, and I actually just came from there, and I'm involved in that, and I pour into those young girls. But I've done that in the Marine Corps, and I hope I've done it. I hope
Yes.
I've done it through our company. But I always want to be learning and soaking it up, and then spreading it out and
Well,
sharing it and pouring into other people, and making a difference, maybe just in some young military spouse life that needs encouragement and just needs somebody to be on her side and just give her a boost or whatever. So hopefully, I know it's hard. You have to put yourself out there, and
yes. Hmm.
sometimes people don't enjoy it. And so you're not always going to get a you're not
Yeah.
always going to get positive feedback
Yeah,
from it.
that's true.
But I just keep doing it. So
Well,
it's
Christy,
just
let me
been
just say, you have been an inspiration to me. I've been following and seeing what you've been doing. And just really, it's really encouraging. You've been a light in our military spouse community. I don't think you know that. Maybe you don't hear it enough. But I just wanted to pause and take the time to say that your labor is not in vain. People see it. You do have a light that you do shine, and you are carrying a torch for younger spouses like myself to follow behind and being that example in how you carry yourself, how you, your partners and everyone carries the company. And it is really inspiring because I think oftentimes when whether it's in military marriage having issues or a spouse who maybe has some confidence issues or concerns because they're new, we really need strong, more seasoned spouses like you. And I'm excited that I even have the opportunity to talk to you right now. But you really are making an impact, and having these conversations are so needed because I think they don't happen as often as they should, as they could. Because even in listening to this conversation, I'm hoping that guests kind of get that inside look to say, even someone like this, like you, who has achieved and had a long successful marriage, they still had struggle, they still needed to lean on someone else, they still got with other couples that they saw healthy and flourishing. And you need that connectiveness, you need to be able to lean on other people and to connect in that way.
Yeah, there are going to be struggles. There have been, you know, bad times, and we've lost friends, and we've had friends with PTSD. And
Yeah.
we on our very first duty station, my sweet neighbor's little girl died from cancer.
Oh,
And
goodness.
but when your family is thousands of miles away, you we have to be there for each other, and in whatever form that looks like. And so I just I hope that the whole thing with our company too is share your story. And so I like to hear people's stories. I want to know the things that we have in common. I want to know the struggles that they've had. I want to know the great things that have happened to them. And so that's been like the whole connection to our company, is that we want to have a way to display your story, which is the charms. But more than that, it kind of bonds people together. It bonds
Mm-hmm.
husbands and wives. The husbands love to give this as a gift. It's almost like um they're the wives have, they deployed to Afghanistan, and
Mm-hmm.
we stayed here and did the taxes. I think we need I think we need a charm for that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
they they went on a ship for 6 months, and we stayed here with the kids. I'm gonna need a charm for that.
I'm gonna need a charm. Yep.
so
Absolutely.
um so they have their I love me walls with all their accolades and all of their
Mm,
medals and things like that. But we have a story that's different than theirs. We
right,
were at the
right.
same duty station they were, but our story is different than their story. And so that's why we started the whole company, is because we like to sit around and tell stories.
Right. I absolutely love that. And I think I just want to foot stomp that real quick, that our stories are different. We walk through our marriage together. We are a unit. But in our military life, our stories are different. It's
Yeah.
not going to be the same. Yeah, that's beautiful.
it's my story. He just came along for the ride.
I love it. I love that. Well,
Yeah.
well, Christy, if is there any other takeaways that you have to share with us? Anything you can think of, advice, final thoughts?
Yeah. Just, I know this is going to sound totally old fashioned and people are probably going to, I don't know, revolt, but I found that it has been really true in my marriage is serve each other.
Yeah.
I'm not a servant. Kevin doesn't treat me like a servant,
Mm-hmm.
but I put on that role, and I don't treat him like a servant, but he puts on that role. Serve each other, be good to each other. And I think the second thing I would say is what I just reiterate what I said. And my friend Amber said it. I was kind of talking to her today, and I'm like, what's some advice? The military doesn't dictate your marriage to you. They only tell you where you have to live. And
Right.
so you decide together about everything else in your life. So do that, make it a team. And then I would say this, make the most of every duty station you live in. There are some that are on the bottom of our list.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been to some of those duty stations, but I went in thinking, okay, how can I make this the best? What can I do? How can I make this, which seems like a yucky duty station? How can I make it good? And it's been the ones that I've walked away having the most fun, meeting the best friends.
Yes. Yep.
My very
Mm-hmm.
best friend, my very best friend in the military her name is Kenitha Davis. And I got stationed at Paris Island. And if you've never been there, it's kind of a tough duty station. And there's lots of sand fleas and lots of
Wow.
recruits that are on Paris Island. And so it's kind of a fast paced lifestyle there. And so it's kind of a tough duty station. And I met Kenitha's husband was a gunny stationed over at the air station. And I met her, and she's my kindred spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
I just, I kind of went in thinking, oh, this is going to be a terrible duty station. And it was by far one of my favorites. And I met really someone who's like a sister to me. And so don't look at every duty station as an opportunity. And you may never want to go back there, but don't judge it before you've been there about 6 months, I would guess, to say have a good attitude about it. And then I would say my last piece of advice is buy your wife a Nomadis bracelet.
Yes.
Or
I
your
love it.
mom.
Yes. I love
um
it. Absolutely. Let me foot stomp that. Please buy us. Please on days when we're not feeling it, when we're having a tough time transitioning.
yeah.
If you find that we're going somewhere great or somewhere that we may not be as excited for, buy us a bracelet.
Yes. So
That is the
one of
answer.
my favorite little stories is one of our other owners, one of my business partners, Marika, was at Disney World with her family, and they got separated. She I don't know how. Well, yes, I do. If you know them, you know how they got separated. But all the kids, they're older, they got on a tram and she missed it. And she was going to catch the next tram. And she was sitting on this tram by herself. And there was an elderly couple kind of sitting in front of her, facing her. And the man reached over and grabbed her wrist, and she had on her Nomadis bracelet. It was just a bracelet with the Eagle Globe and Anchor on it. And he
Mm-hmm.
kind of reached over and grabbed her arm. And the wife said, I'm so sorry. She kind of pulled his hand away, and she said, he has Alzheimer's. And we have brought our family here, our grandchildren. We think this is probably the last trip we'll get to take. He's not doing well. And so I'm so sorry he grabbed your wrist. And she said to her, ma'am, was your husband a Marine? And she said, yes. How did you know that? And she said, he did not grab my wrist. He grabbed my Eagle Globe and Anchor. And she took it off the bracelet and gave it to the wife and said,
Oh,
thank you so
yes.
much for y'all's service to our country. That is what it's about. And
Yes.
I mean, I'm not just talking about my charms. I'm talking about our stories matter to people, and our lives matter to people. And so
Mm-hmm.
um I'm going to offer a 20% discount because that's what I do. Um,
Woo!
So if people want to, they're going to, from March 1st to March 15th, if you call me, and can we put my number up somewhere on your stuff?
I absolutely will. I'll put it
Okay.
up for them.
We'll put my number up in my email. If you call me or email me, I will get you a 20% discount on anything you want. And I love this company and I believe in it. And I have adored every second. The blood, sweat, and tears of anything that I've done in the Marine Corps. It's been a gift to me, really.
That is such an awesome offer for all of my military couples that are listening. Even if you are not a military couple, because I know some of my married couples just listen in and glean from the advice here. This is an amazing offer. Please, please, please take advantage of it. Gift someone this. Like you said, there are military members, retirees, our veterans that can be honored, their spouses that can be honored. I know you know someone who can take advantage of
Your
this special.
your mom's
Yes,
love this.
exactly. Exactly. So please, please, please take advantage. I will link all of that in the show notes. Christy, it has been such a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your story and encouraging us to live ours out as military couples and in this
Thanks,
military
Bree.
marriage. Yes, thank you. Okay, everyone, you know what time it is. It is time to EYS, earn your stripes. I absolutely loved chatting with Christy and hearing her story. And now it's time for you to sit down with your significant other and chat about your own story. Use the guide that is in the show notes to follow and track your military marriage story. Go ahead, give it a try. This podcast is sponsored by B. Carroll Events for wedding and event planning and design. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. This is Hearts and Stripes. We are the few and the proud that aim high and are forged by love. Born ready. We are Mill Marriage Strong.